Hello, scrappy friends. Welcome back to Workshop Wednesday. My name is Diane Gutierrez, and I am a Creative Memories advisor in Southern California. We are here today to do our Keeping Scrapbooking Simple series. We are going to work in the Creative Memories 52 project recipes, just like we've been doing all year long. And I picked out a really super fun but super simple one today. I think that you guys will agree. And of course, I thought, why not jump right into the All-American Blast collection and do a 4th of July page and get ready for the holiday this week. Let me go ahead and switch you over to my desktop and we'll go ahead and jump right in. We're going all the way back to the beginning of the book today, and I'm going to do project recipe number 1, which happens to be on page 6 of the book if you have the book and are following along. And it looks like this right here. Put that in the screen for a minute. And of course I did put one up, the original project recipe up on my blog if you wanted to print out a PDF and follow along if you don't have the book. Pretty simple one. In fact, we only have 2 pieces of pattern paper to bring in for this recipe, so that's pretty exciting. I think, in my opinion, where this gets its really big pop is the fact that they used pattern paper on the background for the background piece instead of white or other solid color cardstock. So I'm going to do what they did here and here and bring in some pattern paper, and I'm going to tell you I made some bold choices today. I guess I love red, white, and blue. You guys know that's my favorite color combination. So, this is perfect collection for me. But I'm going to bring in some bold choices. And so we're going to see how this works out, because when I bring in such bold things, then I feel like I have to kind of tame it down a little. So we'll see how that works. The cutting guide is very interesting when I was looking at it because of these open spots that they have. I mean, we could easily bring this over here and bring that over there. So I don't know. It all works out the same. I am going to make a few minor changes. This photo mat right here, they wanted us to cut it at 6.5 by 4.5. I'm going to reduce that down to 6 by 4. So not a major change there. It's just going to better fit my photo. I decided to use a little bit smaller photo there so that it would match. It's this one right here, so that it would match the sizes I'm using for the other ones. I'm also going to change my number of photos that I'm bringing on, especially right up here. You're going to see a difference there. And then on cuts C and D, I'm going to eliminate one of those completely. And then I'm going to cut this one from over here. Only reason I'm doing that is so I have this big block of scrap paper, because I feel like I try to, when I'm having a scrap, I want to try and keep the biggest one possible. Since I was eliminating one of these, I'm going to just bump it right over to that cut right there. Because if we flip it back to this side, on this, I feel like they used a mat card. They just cut it in half maybe. I don't know. This looks like a mat card to me, but to get the same effect, you could cut your paper the same. So that's what those 2 pieces are for, and I'm going to change that up slightly. And also note that you can also change that up with a photo if you wanted to. I am going to change, like I said, my photo placement a little bit and to sneak on a couple extra photos. I feel like we have room on here to get in a few extra, and I happen to have more photos for the 4th of July page that I'm going to do than that they had here. So it's going to work. And then we'll talk about the borders when we get to it. And I'll show you the papers I'm going to use. For my base pages, I am going to use these 2 right here. Told you, pretty bold, but I think it's going to work. Those are going to be my base pages. And then for the pieces I'm going to cut, actually this flag paper, the reverse side is the blue plaid. Then this is going to be my paper number 1. And then for paper number 2, I'm going to use this red striped paper. And for both of these on the layout, we do use both sides of the paper. So pretty fun. So let's go ahead and start with paper number 1. Here's where I'm going to make a little bit of a change. The first cut is going to be, actually what they have us doing is cutting it right in half at 6 inches. first cut is going to be for a photo mat. So I'm going to turn that and cut it at 4 inches. So a 6x4 photo mat. And then this is the large chunk I was talking about that I'm going to save as a scrap. And then on this piece, it's going to be flipped over. It doesn't matter for cutting, but we are going to be using the reverse side. And we're going to do another photo mat at 4 inches. Now, a little bit of a spoiler alert. I am actually going to use both the blue sides for my photo mats and only flip this over in a couple places. Then our next cut, let's go ahead and do the next photo mat, which again is going to be 4 inches. So we need 3 of these total. Don't forget, one was supposed to be upside down. And then this center piece, if you're following along on the guide, it's the center piece, and I need a 3-inch piece. And I'm gonna use the reverse side of that, and then this 4-inch by 3-inch piece is now going to be trimmed in half, and we'll have 2 3 by 2-inch pieces. There we go. That's it for paper number 1. Okay, let's move on to the next piece. We need to do one strip of 3 inches and then turn it and cut it into 2-inch squares. We have our 3 inches, so now we'll do our 2 inches, and we need 6 of these. So there's 1. Some of these are reversed, I think 2 of them. And then this last piece, this is where I'm making another small change. Instead of doing 4.5, the 6.5 by 4.5, I'm going to do a 4.5 by 6.5. And I'm going to cut it at 4.5 instead. I just feel like, again, I get the biggest chunk of scrap left over. And then I'll turn this and cut it at 6.5. On my paper, it didn't matter. It's not a directional piece. And then this piece is scrap as well. Well, that was quick and easy. Let me go ahead and grab my boards, and we'll do the page layout. And go ahead and bring in our paper choices. This is our background. Like I said, pretty loud, but we're gonna see what we can do here to kind of tame this down. I love the firework paper, is my favorite in the whole collection, so I'm not afraid to use it, and I love it, so I think it's gonna work out. Okay, so let's see what we have here. My paper savers out there, if you really wanted to trim off a little piece, you can do that. I'm not gonna do that today because I feel like it's gonna be really difficult, because what we're going to do is we're going to create a border, actually one at the top and one at the bottom, with all these little pieces. So you could weld all those together if you wanted to. I don't want to do that because that's going to take away from my keeping it simple, because it'll make it a lot more challenging. So we have the red, and then we have, I'm just looking at the little guide here. So we have E, which would be our flag paper. And then we have I, which would be, again, the red paper. And you can do this any way you want. If you get this on here and you're like, I don't like what they did, then feel free to go ahead and change it around, because then they have this one right here. Then on the other page, it drops down here to the bottom. K, which would be the reverse side, goes first. And then L, which again is that red. Then we have F, which is the flag paper. And then we have the red again. So it looks a little bit crazy right now, because you'll see in the examples, they did bring in a little bit of a border. Here they used laser cut borders. And I believe on the sample, the other sample that's on the blog, they did a, if I remember correctly, it's a border strip here and a punch out here. So you really could mix and match these any way you want. Laser cut borders, border strips, or a border punch out. And I am going to do that. I'm going to mix it up. But it's very important at this stage to, in my opinion, to cover up this seam with something, because that's going to help the overall transition. Changed up a little bit so it's not so wild looking. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my scalloped crochet. Now I already pre-punched this, and it looks like this. So I just made it a patriotic feel, put the red and the blue. I didn't want to punch this out. I thought I would save us some time because I just did the same technique when I finished up our summer school series. This was day 5 and I showed how to do this. Basically, I just put a half-inch strip of red and a half-inch strip of blue to cover up those two top portions, 1 and 2, and left the last one open and gave it more of a patriotic feel. And this is what I'm going to put down here to kind of break up that transition. So now you'll see how it goes from kind of crazy to all of a sudden now it's a little bit more smooth, and this little border down at the bottom doesn't look as wonky, and it kind of has a better flow. And I didn't have to back the red necessarily. I think it would have, this red paper would have like been showing through and that would have been fine, but I just wanted it to be a little more cohesive. Up here, I wanted to be a little bit different and bring in a border sticker. And I'm gonna bring in this one. I'm gonna lay it lightly down here. Let's see, let me take off a little bit of the stickiness actually. I wanna trim it down a little bit later. So let me go ahead and take that off, just to make it not, so it doesn't stick completely to my page and I can still trim it once I get my photos on there. And I'm gonna lay it just like that. So see, even though I have very kind of bold and loud papers, that transition I feel like needs to be covered up. If this is too much for you, I recommend just doing a strip of solid color cardstock, like a 1/2 inch or so. Let's bring in our photos. So down here is where they have those 2 little pieces, and they have a 4x6 or so. Yeah, they had a 4x6 photo here. And then up here we had a 4-inch photo and a 3.5 by 5.5 with a photo mat. And I'm going to change that to have 3.5 by 3.5 inch squares photos right up here. I just happen to have the perfect photos, and like I said, I wanted to get more on here, so I was able to trim these down and it worked out perfectly for me. But you can also keep it the way it is if it works better for your photos. On this page we had a vertical photo here and a horizontal photo here, and I wanted to sneak in one more vertical photo, so it's going to go like this. And actually I have so much room. I wasn't planning on that. I was planning on trimming this, but maybe I won't have to. Okay, now our photo mats. This page had their photo mat up here. I'm gonna drop it down to this one, and that really helps that one stand out. And then these are just, I don't think they need photo mats, but if you wanted to, you still have room there. And then over here, I think my plan was the red one here. I might even bring in some white to put on that. So let's hold off on that one. And then I'm take my last blue one and put it here, or not my last one, but a blue one, and put it here. And then this one, instead of using the flag paper, I am gonna turn it, figure out what we're gonna do, because then I'll have to figure out if I'm going to trim my border or not. Trim the photo down a little bit. If that's good. That looks pretty good. Now I just trim the mat a little bit. There we go. Let's see what this one looks like. The picture's looking a little dark right now. So it's a 5.5 by 3.5. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of a border. So I'll do 5 3/4. We have to change sometimes on the fly. This will help brighten that photo up a little bit. There we go. Putting the mats on these really kind of toned down a lot of that wild paper in the back. Bring them closer together like this. I'm trying to decide if I want to trim or put them all down here. I think I'm going to scoot it down. I really was thinking I was going to trim that and use part of it on the other side. I think it looks better to have that border separating, this border sticker separating the patterns up here and the pattern down here. So I will come back in and put some more adhesive on there. For my journaling box, the American Blast did not come with mat cards, but it did come with this cut apart sheet that has some great journaling areas, but I didn't see one that I could use, because it needs to go here. And I like this one, but more red. I didn't want to do that. The other two were too big. And then this one I just didn't feel like was what I wanted either. So I decided to just jump right in and use my lined paper. It's been my savior. I really recommend get a pack of lined paper next time you're ordering, because it saves me a lot. And I'm just gonna do it like this. I'm gonna put those two spots here. One will be the flag paper. That way I have a little bit of that flag paper popping out. It's not too much. It's just enough, and it kind of brings in my third spot since I have these two here. So I love that idea. Then my journaling box will be on top of that. I'll probably be playful with it and turn it a little bit so that I could write. And I'm gonna scooch it up a little bit because I know I'm gonna bring in some embellishing on there. Now I have to decorate the lined paper. Now over here, I want to bring in a cluster base and do a cluster right there. So for that, let me scoot this up. I'm gonna bring in my custom cutting system and a piece of scrap. My circles, custom cutting templates are my go-to when it comes to embellishment cluster bases. I have a lot of metal dies too that I use, but if I'm looking for something basic and easy, then I would definitely look to my custom cutting templates. Okay, and quick, right? That was the largest circle in the set of 3. Red blade on the inside track, as you just saw. And I'm going to bring it right over here. Let's bring in some embellishing and see what I want to do with this. I don't have a ton of embellishments for this. We have some nice big embellishments with this collection and a great set of stickers. Let's put the words. These are all pretty much words and some stars, so we'll put that aside. I thought for my title, I like this one, Proud to be an American, and I'm thinking about it going over here somewhere. I'm just wondering if that gets lost in my patterned paper. I think it's looking okay. Might pop that up. And then I have this great Uncle Sam hat, so I think I'm going to put it somewhere over here. And the flag, I'm going to put that down here, I think. Maybe like that. I wanted to show you where they embellished, actually, because that's kind of important. So look at this closely, and you'll notice that there are no embellishment clusters on this particular layout. So I thought that's pretty interesting. That does definitely keep it simple, right? But I'm going to obviously bring in some embellishments because I love that part. But I think if you have a lot of patterned paper and you did the border stickers and the punch out, that could be a lot of embellishing. So here they used like 2 laser cut borders, and then, I believe this was 2 also. So that's where they draw the embellishing for this layout. On the sample on my blog, excuse me, that one did have some embellishment, and I think it was somewhere right around here. This was a mat card that they used, and so they did some embellishing right down here, and I believe it was also down here, and I can't recall if there was a third one or not. So you can go check that out if you're looking for ideas of where to embellish on this page once you get it created. So I'm going to go here and here for sure, just trying to decide about my title, if it's going to look okay there, or maybe I could bring it down here. No, I don't like it right there. I think I am going to put it here, and I'm also going to come up here and put something on the journaling card. I like the hamburger and the solo cup, so I'm thinking of something like that. I did bring in something from my stash, because remember, that was a goal of mine for last year, is to bring in stuff from my stash. So this time I brought in these, I don't even know where these came from, but they're all patriotic terms and like states, a lot of states also. Oh boy, there are so many. Independence is nice. That's cute. And I also wanted to bring one up over here next to the hat. I saw beautiful on here. Let's go with that. And I'll do something like this over there, just to bring in a few words to it. And then I think that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to look through my stickers and look for some finishing touches. There's a lot of stars on here. There are a couple flowers. And for this, actually, maybe I'll move it up. Have the word beautiful coming off to the side. No, I don't like that. Maybe down. I do like that. And then let's see about some stars. I think there's some white ones on here. How about white and red? Kind of up here above the hat. That's great because now we have stars here and we have stars over here. I could probably put a couple stars right over here as well. I'm going to go with the blue, the red and a blue. And I'll go with the darker blue. Yeah, there we go. So I still have all that to use for journaling. So perfect. It's a little wild, but I like it. I had to be big and bold for the 4th of July. Actually, I think the little flower, I'm going to put on some foam. There we go. Okay, let me know what you think. I had fun. That was fun. And this is actually from 2022. So 23, I believe. Yeah, 2023. So not that long ago. And so I'm very happy to be getting this one in my album. So, well, thank you for joining me. I hope if you celebrate the 4th of July, I hope that you have a happy and safe 4th of July and, do something patriotic. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.